Hi and welcome to day one of the FlowState Home and CrossFit Tewkesbury at Home program. Our workout today is going to be AMRAP 6 minutes, 5 air squats, 10 jumping jacks. Then you're going to rest for 3 minutes and perform another AMRAP for 6 minutes of 5 sit-ups and 10 plate kicks. So first, to get us moving, we're going to go through our warm-up. We call this our regular warm-up. We do this a couple of times a week whenever it's appropriate for the workout. It's going to be 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and 10 squats. And we're going to do 2 rounds. The idea here is that we do these for quality. So we don't need to rush. I want to make sure that these things look really good and that we know exactly what we're going to do and we can build them up over time. So first off, let's take a look at our push-up. The first option for our push-up is going to be on our knees. So what we're going to do is get down onto the floor and we're just going to sit onto our knees. In a moment, when I reach that plank position, I'm going to make sure that I line up my wrist, my elbow, my shoulder in a nice straight line stacked on top of each other. So I'll go out to my push-up position. So I've got that nice stacked straight line. The other mistake that we often see is people go too far wide or too far forward with their hands, okay? Underneath the shoulder, all stacked in a straight line, and I don't need to deviate from there. Once I am performing the push-up, the next problem we see is that we see the elbow wing out to the side and put a lot of pressure into the front of the shoulder. Instead, I'm going to tuck my elbow somewhere between my ribs and 45 degrees. Let me show you a couple of reps. So from here, I'm keeping my body in a nice straight line. I don't need to push my butt back and I don't need to drop them down towards the floor. A nice straight line. I like to think about sucking my belly button into my spine. The movement standard on this push-up is that my chest is going to literally touch the floor and then I'm going to return to that locked out straight arm. Okay, so from there I'll show you again. We start in this straight line position, lower down till my chest touches the floor, and then return to that locked out arm again. That would be 1 repetition. If we feel like that's a little bit easy, we can take the knees off the floor and base on our toes. That looks like this. If we're not quite there yet, we can do something called a hand release push-up, where I lower down to the floor, remove my hands, and then I can use this little bit of energy to drive the floor away by pushing my palms into the floor aggressively and trying to keep my midline, my core, my body in that nice straight line. So I'm going to think about tensing my abs as if I was bracing for a punch or something like that, but don't be punching anybody. So from here, I lower down, I squeeze my abs, squeeze my butt, lift my hands, and then drive away to the top again. Now, if at first we do get a little bit of a wiggle or a snake in the middle, that's okay, as long as we're trying to keep that nice and straight. Over time, you're going to improve. So if it looks like this, don't worry. That will get better as we move on through the weeks, through the months, and through the years. Next up in our warm-up is going to be 10 sit-ups. There's 2 options here. The first one is called a butterfly sit-up, okay? So I put the soles of my feet together, my knees go out to the side, and I'm going to lay back and touch the floor with my hands behind my head. Then I'm going to throw my hands forward and touch my toes. Looks like this. If we wanted to, we find that too difficult, we can straighten our legs out. Same thing, touch the floor, and then you can touch your shins or your toes if you can reach. The last movement then in our warm-up is going to be our air squat. So it looks like this. For the air squat, we're going to make sure that our heels are underneath our shoulders, and I'm going to have my chest nice and proud. The first thing I'm going to think about doing is pushing my hips back and down. So push my hips back and down. I'm looking to move to a range of motion where my hip crease is lower than the knee. So here would be a little bit high, so I'd need to just ride this down a little bit more. If I was to get a marble and let it go, it should roll down towards my hip. Once we've got those two things squared away, I want to think about my knees just pointing in the same direction of my toes here. What I wouldn't want to see is that they collapse inside. So we're going to think about sending our knees in the same direction as our toes. The last thing I need you to think about is that our weight is back in our heels. That's why we like to think about pushing our hips back and down, not just straight down. So when I get to the bottom here, I should be able to wiggle my toes. I don't want to be shifting forward where my heel is popping up off the floor. So again, the air squat looks like this. And you perform 10 of those. That's 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 squats, 2 rounds. If you want us to have a little look at any of those movements for you, just to make sure you're doing them right, feel free to shoot us a message, Instagram, email, Facebook, or on the Boxmate app. Okay, good stuff. We're through the warm-up. Hopefully now we're a little bit sweaty. We've got some of that blood moving. Now let's get into our mobility piece. This is going to help us open up our hips, our hamstrings, our lower back, and get us ready for that workout today. So this is called the world's greatest stretch. We're going to take a nice long lunge on the floor. You can pop that back knee down, and we're going to lean forward. So I'm pushing my hips towards this front leg, okay? My other hand is going to go on the floor for support. My elbow will run down the inside of my shin towards the floor. If you can touch the floor, good job. Then I'm going to turn and reach and look at my hand up in the sky. This will count as 1 rep. Down to the floor, turn and reach. I'll show you on the other side. 10 rotations on the one side. Change your legs over. So you're going to start in that lunge shape. Push the hips forward. This hand gets posted on the floor. Your elbow runs down the inside of the shin towards the floor or towards your foot, and then turn and reach and look at that hand. 10 rotations on that side as well. Okay, your workout today then. First part, AMRAP 6 minutes. AMRAP means as many rounds as possible. This means that you're going to set a 6-minute timer, because it's an AMRAP 6 minutes, and the timer on your phone or whatever it is going to start counting down. Your job in this first AMRAP is to do 5 of those air squats and 10 jumping jacks. Once you've done 5 and 10, that means you've done 1 round. Your job is then to do as many of those rounds as you can in 6 minutes, okay? You can go as fast as you like or as slow as you need to. You can rest whenever you need to. But obviously, the less you rest and the faster you go, the higher your score will be. And over time, you'll see those scores creeping up, okay? The first movement then is that air squat. I'll show you a couple of reps again. So remember, we're going to have our heels underneath our shoulders. We're going to think about this nice, tall, proud chest. My hips will go back and down until they're lower than my knees, and then I'll come back to standing into this straight line. My knees will point in the line with my toes, and I'll make sure that my weight shifts back into my heels a little bit. I don't want to be doing any Michael Jackson impressions. Once you've done your 5 squats, you're going to hit 10 jumping jacks. They look like this. So we're going to start in a pencil straight line. Feet together, stood nice and tall. My hands are touching my thighs. I'm going to jump my feet out to outside of my shoulders, and at the same time bring my hands overhead and touch them together. Then when I bring this back, that counts as my 1 rep. 1, 2, okay? So 5 squats, 10 jumping jacks, as many times as you can in that 6 minutes. Once the 6 minutes is up, you're going to take a 3-minute break. So feel free to grab some water, bring your heart rate back down. Then you're going to set another 6-minute timer, and we're going to do 5 sit-ups and 10 plate kicks. So in a gym setting, we'd grab a 10 or 20 kilo plate and we pop that on the floor. For today, we can use something else. Let's just review that sit-up first of all. So remember, we've got 2 options, either the butterfly sit-up or the straight leg sit-up. Both of them require us to touch the floor behind our head, throw our hands forward and touch our toes, okay? So you're going to do 5 of those. Once we've done that, we can grab our object. And when we're in the home setting, you can use anything you like, okay? If you've got a plate, feel free to use it. You could grab a rucksack, a cushion. So for today, I'm just gonna steal this cushion from the dining chair. Thanks very much, Dunelm. We're not sponsored. So I can pop my cushion down on the floor. The idea of this plate tap is that one foot will be touching the plate or the object, and then I can switch my feet. This would be 1 rep, so I'll show you 10. So I'm not trying to step up onto it, I'm kicking the plate, okay? Or the object, so just switch, 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 switch. 5, 10, as many rounds as you can in your 6-minute timer. And obviously this one's going to be a little bit more fast paced than the first one, so feel free to really push yourself, and then we'll get into some stretching afterwards. Excellent work. You've made it through the first workout on the program, okay? What we're going to do now is a stretch called calf walks, and we're just going to use a wall for this, okay? So when we get over to the wall, I want you to imagine that you're pushing a broken down car. So from here, imagine I'm pushing a broken down car. I'm going to take a long step back with one leg, and I'm going to lift the heel on the opposite leg. Then I can change them and drive one heel into the floor, lift one heel up. And you're just going to hold for a little second on each one. And you can just spend a couple of minutes here, stretching those calves out, just playing with it, because we've done a lot of those jumping jacks, a lot of those kicks today, okay? Excellent work. Make sure you pop your scores on Boxmate if you want to. There'll be a leaderboard on there, and you can start having a look and high-fiving and chatting and seeing how other people in your training group did as well. Any questions, as always, feel free to give us a message, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 2.